breaking down all the plays and getting you in the action. We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into Season 2, Episode number 18 here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. We are taking one step further into 2023-24 high school basketball season. And as we get started today, Justin is not with us, but filling in for him. You hear him everywhere across BCSN. We got Mason Lowry. How we doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for stopping by. And
My pleasure.
I'm going to start it off with you today. You get to be put in the hot seat here at the very beginning.
Welcome.
We're here. You know, it's December 20th. We're almost here to Christmas. So, what is a gift that you would give to any team here this season?
Well, my Christmas shopping's already done.
Okay.
For once.
Mine is not.
Yeah, I'm never done with my shopping this early. It's usually like Christmas Eve and I'm scrambling.
Yeah.
I want to give my beloved Hull City over in the EFL Championship in England some attacking depth.
Okay.
And it's interesting because not 10 minutes ago, I discovered that they have signed a striker for the new year, Billy Sharp, who's 37 years old. He was at LA Galaxy last year. Really good player, gives them a veteran presence in their forward line. They've got him in, maybe two more wingers because they've had some guys that are hurt. The way they like to play, they need to get up and down the flanks. They can genuinely be promoted to the Premier League, which would be worth lots and lots and lots and lots of money for them.
Absolutely.
It would be easier to watch them on TV for me, the only Hull City fan in the state of Ohio, I'm sure. Yeah, attacking depth for them is what I would like.
All right. Well, it seems like you're speaking things into existence, so I'm going to keep that in mind. Mike Robb, what is a gift that you would give this season?
You know, I think the number one thing I'll give is my Browns some health. You know, I think we need that to continue to keep going forward. You know, we got a Super Bowl to win, and I think that's going to happen. I mean, shout out to our QB play. We're getting it done with the guy it just happened to step in the year of the backup quarterback. So excited about that. And I give a lot of high school basketball teams, watched a lot this year, and watched Mason call a lot of games and free throw shooting. So we need to get some Dr. Dishes sent around to some high schools and put the players behind the free throw line and let them practice from the charity stripe this holiday season.
Okay, I like it. I'm going to second what you're talking about there with the Browns. You know, we're 9-5 currently, holding that fifth seed in the AFC. There is still a chance to pull out that the number one seed if somehow Baltimore just decides to stop playing football, which is probably not going to happen. But if they pull the Philadelphia Eagles, then
hey, they could.
Yeah, why not?
You're telling me there's a chance, you know?
I'll take a wild card. I'll take a wild card.
I want to give us all the gift of a Lions-Browns Super Bowl. How extraordinary would that be?
The only thing that would make that better is if that game was somewhere near Ohio and not across the country somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? That would be the only thing that would make it better.
Play that game at the Glass Bowl. How about it?
Yes. If it's good enough for the Italians, it's good enough for the NFL.
I agree.
Super Bowl in the 2024 and Italian Bowl in 2025. Look at that. We already got it locked up. All right.
It's the Glass City.
Here we go. All right. Well, coming up on today's show as we wrap back to high school sports here, we got our Shawn's Irish Tavern Player of the Week coming up. We're talking some NLL Buckeye and Cardinal Division boys basketball, and we got an unbelievable play that happened last night with Emmanuel Christian. Mason was there. And we got our Game of the Week preview and so much more coming up on today's show. So make sure you tune in today and each and every week, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. You can watch us on BCSN or listen to us throughout the week on our audio podcast platforms. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and on bcsnnation.com/podcast. And if you miss any of our content on sports nightly, then make sure you follow us on our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at BCSN Sports. We post daily content over there. You don't want to miss it. All right, let's jump in now to our Shawn's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. All right, welcome into our Shawn's Irish Tavern Player of the Week here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. This week, we're heading out to St. Francis as Raheem Brown was voted as this week's Shawn's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. He dropped 12 points last week and a clutch block in the final seconds to secure the 43-41 win over Central Catholic. Mason, you were there. You were on the call for this big game last week in our Game of the Week last week.
Yeah.
What did we see out of Raheem Brown?
Well, it's a testament to how good he was on the defensive end that he won Player of the Week because of how well he defended. In that third quarter in particular, and he's been a first quarter guy for a lot of the season. I've seen St. Francis a couple of times. He's the kind of player that, 10 of his 12 points or 8 of his 10 or whatever come in the first quarter. Third quarter, he starts getting a ton of deflections. He's tipping a lot of passes. And in a game in which offensive production wasn't coming very easily for anybody, he was able to turn defense into instant offense. And the job he did, locking down Manny Johnson in that final sequence, shadowing him up the floor, blocking an off-balance 3 at the buzzer. I'm not sure that was the look that Central Catholic wanted, but it was the ultimately unanswered prayer that they were forced into by the job that the Knights did defensively, especially Raheem Brown. I was so impressed with the way he kind of turned that game in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Raheem Brown, he's well deserving of this award. Just watching him from football season transition to basketball. Coach K is grateful to have him play hoops for him because he is a special player, just all in all. So to see him continue to dominate, and what he did versus Central Catholic just kind of exemplifies why you should play football. Why, if you're a basketball coach, you should let your players get on the gridiron because it makes them tough. You see Raheem, you see Urban, these guys step up defensively. You talk about it all the time, Mason, how defensive St. Francis is. This is what they need. They need more tough physical guys, and not just them, but everybody around the area. But tip the hat to Raheem.
Absolutely. And it's been a fantastic time watching St. Francis so far this season, and we'll have some more discussions about them coming up later on the show today. But if you want to vote for the Shawn's Irish Tavern Player of the Week, then make sure you go to our Twitter at BCSN Sports each and every Friday at 10:30 p.m. That poll runs through Monday at noon. Make sure you let your voice be heard. All right, let's jump into a recap of another game that happened last week, but this time on the girls' side. This game was something that we were very much looking forward to last week. We talked about it on the podcast, and it certainly showed up as a fantastic game to watch. The Generals came away with a 53-32 win over the Panthers last week. Leah Pike had 18 points, Elise Bender 14, Tatum Roeder with 10 points, 3 players over 10, and Leah Pike getting the team's first double-double of the season, adding 10 rebounds there as well. Mike Robb, when looking at this Anthony Wayne at Whitmer matchup that happened last week, what do we see here?
One thing that you understand is that Anthony Wayne just has the guard play, that a lot of teams in this area doesn't have. When you look at Bender and Pike, they can just do so many things from the top of the key, put pressure on the ball carriers. On the ball handlers and
fourth and goal, baby.
Yeah, we think about football, right? But they taking care of their business at the arc. Not allowing the ball to get penetrated to the post. And this is just what it's about, being able to turn that quick offense to defense. And then you talk about the toughness of a Bender. I think that she doesn't get the credit that she deserves because she is special because she makes the small plays that you don't really notice or don't show up on, box scores where she's giving those effort plays. And I think that is the kind of player that I was when I was a hooper. But those are the kind of players you revere in your program.
I thought Anthony Wayne did a tremendous job against the zone. And I've heard Todd Kowalczyk, the Toledo basketball coach, talk for years and years about the importance of passing to beat a zone. You will not beat a 2-3 zone or any kind of zone defense by dribbling around. You beat it by moving the ball quickly, that mid-post to high-post passer, get it in around the free throw line or the elbow, find the open player on the outside and knock down jump shots, and that'll take a team out of a zone if they can't stop the 3. Anthony Wayne moves the ball exceptionally well, and what's frightening about them is that they have been the team of the future for several years now, and they still only have one senior, and it's Tatum Roeder, who was the last one to have double figures. She had the 10 against Whitmer. They're frightening, and they don't have any big, obvious, glaring weaknesses. A lot of really good teams do have one way you can take them away or one skill that you can negate, and it changes the game. I don't see them having one. They're big, and they're skilled, and they're deep, and just a note on Whitmer real quick, if I can.
Absolutely.
I really feel for Leon Kennard and those girls because they lose Sydney Boer, their terrific point guard. She tears her ACL early on in the season. Denny Lawrence, who would have been the other starting guard coming into the year, moved to Akron, and she's at Akron St. V's right now. So they're just trying to find a way. Leon's a terrific coach, and he said as much after that game. He said, we're trying to now find a combination of girls that can work together and play together, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we need to figure out how to win ball games. And I'm sure they will given time, but it's going to take a little time to get the rotations right.
It will, and it's definitely been it's been a good time watching both of these squads. So we're going to see how Whitmer does moving forward. But Anthony Wayne, when you got both the Pike twins and the Benders, I mean, it's a good time watching that team. I'll tell you what.
I don't know what must be in the water over there to have so many sets of twins. There's 3 on varsity, and then another set, the Brennemans, Christian Browns. kids on JV. So there'll be 4 sets maybe next year, which is crazy to think about.
Okay, Anthony Wayne. All right, let's move on to the boys' side of the ball now. We're going to talk about the City League because this has been, for me personally, this has been really entertaining to observe through the beginning portion of this season. Obviously, we've already talked about Lima Senior coming into the City League, looking as a front runner, but through the first portion of the season so far, Scott, Start, and Lima Senior, all 3 looking very, very strong. And even in the City League play itself, right now, Bowser's still in the mix of it as well. But, all 3 of these teams performing really, really strongly. They're Scott in a really close game that we'll talk about here shortly. But, Mike Robb, just the City League so far has been so interesting to watch. And it looks like all 3 of these teams have just something to say for the title.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going back looking here at Lima Senior, and obviously everybody said, hey, once they join the City League, they're going to be the leading force in football. They took care of business there.
Yes.
And then we said that was going to happen the same thing in basketball, but that didn't happen right away. With that loss there to Scott, I think it caught a lot of people off guard, losing at the Bulldog House and then going over back-to-back and losing versus Whitmer. But now they're kind of getting back to their winning ways. They took care of Woodward they thrashed them, and then they took care of Bellbrook last night. So this is a basketball team, in my opinion, that is going to get better and that teams aren't going to want to see later on. Start, they got some things going on over there in their programs they're trying to figure through and work it out. But this team is resilient. We've seen them do this year in, year out. But the team of the league that I'm looking at is Scott. Scott has stepped up in such a big way. We talked about Coach Tate, like I said, know him over there from Bowser, and he had really good teams over there, and he knew how to coach guys up. So this team over here for Scott, I think that with their size and their length and their athleticism, they're going to be hard to beat year in, year. Throughout the rest of this year.
Well, the question you had posed to us, Brandon, earlier in the week was, are we ready to name a front runner in this league? And I'm really not, because there's still questions about everybody.
Yeah.
For Lima Senior, though, you guys seen the movie Blazing Saddles?
I have not.
One of my favorite movies. And there's basically nothing that I can repeat and keep my job from that film. But there is a line, don't shoot Mongo, you'll just make him mad. And I wonder if the Scott win over Lima, if that's kind of rattled them into, okay, this is what it's like to compete in the City League. The City League is not what it was. Nobody will claim that it is, but it still means something to win it. And it is always tough to go to the Benny Williams Fieldhouse on Collingwood and beat any Bulldogs team. That was a really impressive win for Scott. They're a little turnover prone at times. They play a little too fast at times. Lima Senior is quite young. Some of their better players are freshmen who are still figuring varsity ball out. AAU ball and high school varsity basketball are 2 different things. And Mike, you mentioned the issues at Start. Coach Wortham isn't with him at the moment. I don't know if he'll be back or when he might be back. And they're inexperienced, and they're very small. They don't have anybody over 6'1" in the rotation. And size isn't everything, but it's going to be difficult against Lima's big guards, and they've already played Scott and beaten them. It's going to be a really interesting last couple of months in the City League, and I genuinely don't know who's going to come out on top.
And that's what I like to see, keeping things fresh and making sure that we have to pay attention moving forward as how this is going to play out. All right, let's move in now. We were already talking a little bit there about Scott's, and last night Scott was in a battle. In this particular instance, it did not go their way, but we're going to move into it in our clip of the week. All right, welcome to our clip of the week, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. Mentioning Scott's, last night they were host to Emmanuel Christian. And as we take a look at this clip right here, we're going to let it ride because you just got to pay attention to what happens here. Starts off with a steal, and then just check this out right here. Boom! But it's not over. Keep watching.
It's just disrespectful right there, though. Off the glass.
Off the glass, and then watch what happens immediately after that. The inbound. No, you can't get it. Right there. Just sending it back. Mason, you were there yesterday. I mean, you were in awe.
I was. I just kind of word vomited all over everybody. If you listen to the call, and I would advise not listening to it too closely. Yeah, listen to that. I tell you what, I'm fighting a cold right now. After seeing that, I was no longer sick. Like, I'm convinced Nate Miles and Jaylen Brown could raise the dead, those two. That is one of the most phenomenal just intuitive things. Jaylen Brown gives him a little look.
Oh,
he knows that Nate's running up the middle of the floor, and Nate Miles has. See, I'm lost for words right now.
Yeah, that's just what you call chemistry, straight up. These guys have played a lot of basketball together, and to be able to see that. But defense is what I like the most. Like I said, I love low-scoring games. But this right here, you see him give the little point up. That's watching LeBron and D Wade plenty of times, back in the mid 2010s, and seeing what they do, and again, put the pressure on them. Defense right here, just making mistakes, frustrating the team. This is what makes this Emmanuel Christian team very dangerous. But Miles, again, this guy is special. He has the ability to probably be Mr. Basketball in the next year or two.
I mean, I believe I heard on the call yesterday that in the last 3 games, Nate Miles is averaging more than 30 points per game.
Yeah, 42 against Anthony Wayne last Tuesday, 32, I think it was, against Cardinal Stritch over the weekend, 34 last night. And what's remarkable about that, well, there's a lot that's remarkable about it, but he's not really had to be a jump shooter. And he explained to me afterwards, the guys know, get me the ball inside and let me go to work.
Yeah.
And I can get it done. And he has. He does most of his damage either driving and scoring or being fed inside and post moves. He's such a good straight-up finisher. He can step out and hit jump shots, but he hasn't had to. And that's kind of refreshing at an age in which everybody wants to step out and hit jump shots and shoot threes and so forth. He's a special, special kid.
Man, this is fantastic. Well, if you want to see more highlight clips, just like, Mike Crop's got something to say.
I was just going to say, Nate, you look at who the number 2 is. He's number 3, but Nate Miles number 2 is pretty good too. So
Okay. All right. Well, if you want to see more highlight clips just like this, then make sure you follow us on our TikTok. It's at BCSN Sports. We post highlight clips just like this every single week. Help us get to 10,000 followers. We'd really appreciate it. And you're not gonna miss it. We have so much awesome content going out over there. All right. Well, with our basketball, we've also got student sections, and coming to us this week for the Unison Health student section of the week, it's Toledo Christian. You guys have been showing up on the hardwood and playing excellent ball, and the student sections have been showing up and being loud and proud as well. Congratulations to Toledo Christian. We will see you this week when the girls host Springfield. We're going to bring out that awesome chain, so make sure you show up. We can't wait to bring it out to you. If you guys want to win the Unison Health student section of the week, then make sure you share your photos and videos to us on social media using at BCSN Sports and the hashtag SSOTW. All right, let's move into some boys games coming up this week here. We're going to start things off in the NLL for a Buckeye battle between 2 undefeated powerhouse teams right now. I mean, these 2 teams have been fantastic to watch. Finley and Whitmer. Finley's averaging 66 points per game, and Whitmer's averaging 81 points per game throughout the first part of the season. Mike Croft, what are we seeing here?
I mean, you just take a look, and one thing that I really like about Whitmer is just how good they've been. Finley, they haven't taken care of business recently like they should have. Obviously, Ryan Montgomery, the basketball trio out there, Wyrick, and these guys are just taking care of business. But I like what Whitmer's got going on. They've had a tough schedule. They've been able to play against some of the better teams and also step up in a way where, honestly, I haven't seen a team play as physically and aggressive from 1 to 5 like this Whitmer basketball team.
Mason, what are you thinking here?
I think the trick long term over the course of this season with Anthony Stacey, who is a terrific manager of young men. He's a great in-game coach, great manager of men. You're going to have to manage egos. I don't know these young men personally, but you're looking at Antoine West, Makai Leach, Elijah McLeod, who came, I think, from Wasion, Tylen Patterson-Davis, who came from Emmanuel Christian, and the list goes on and on. Keeping everybody happy because there's only one ball and so many minutes to go around. So can you keep everybody comfortable and happy playing a specific role for this team? That long-term, I think, is going to be critical for them. I rattled off all those names. It's pick your poison. How are you going to slow down everybody? Even if you slow down 3 of them, the 4th option can go out and give you 25 points and beat you by 25. But if anybody is going to come up with a way to slow that team down, it's probably Jim Rookie. Finley has an exceptional head coach in an area full of great coaches. He is right at or near the top of the list. He always finds a way to squeeze some extra juice out of that turnip, so to speak. And a guy that you didn't mention, Mike, is Will Cordonier, who's had a really good start to the year. He had 25 the other night. They just beat Anthony Wayne by 30. Now, Anthony Wayne is in flux a little bit.
Yes,
they are very inexperienced, but they've also played, I think they're 1-4 now, but they've played a bear of a schedule.
Yes.
They lost to Nate Miles and Emmanuel. They lost to Central Catholic. They beat a good Southview team as their only win so far. It's a good team with guys that know how to win, because guys like Javante Hill and Montgomery, who you mentioned, and Wyrell come from football. They're physically tough, very tough-minded, and they run a system that Whitmer's maybe going to struggle with a little bit. We'll see if their athleticism and aggressiveness can overcome the scheme.
And this will definitely be the best team that they play all year. I mean, not all year, but so far this season, So this is going to definitely be the test to see, and if you're not anywhere, this is the game to be at, I believe, So pull up, make sure you're there, because you're going to see some great basketball, and then you're also going to probably see a lot of great college football coaches, because you got some studs in the house.
Yes, and you can catch that game Friday night at 7:15 p.m. live on the BCSN app. So make sure you tune in. All right, let's move into an NLL Cardinal division battle coming up this week. We got Bowling Green at Napoleon. Bowling Green handing Eastwood their only loss on the season. They're starting out the season 3-3, and Napoleon, strong start, 4-1 with their only loss to Whitmer, which we were just talking about. So, Mike, Rob, looking at this Bowling Green at Napoleon matchup, what are we seeing?
Bowling Green, they won 3, they lost 3, so they're trying to get back to their winning ways. At 500 at this point in the season, you kind of understand what you are as a team. And this Napoleon team is not going to roll over and just be a soft team for them. So they're going to have to step up in a big way, and just show that they're not going to turn the ball over as much as they have in the past 3 games. And that's the difference maker. You turn the ball over. You don't put the ball in your playmakers' hands. And that's something that they got to figure out. And on the flip side of that, Napoleon's been taking care of business. A very impressive win. Just looking at some of the scoreboards and looking at some of the stats, very impressive win over there over Fremont Ross, which is a pretty decent basketball team. They like to get up and get back and forth. So this is going to be a good game to watch. I can't project who's going to win this one, but I'll tell you what, Napoleon is rolling.
All right, Mason, what you thinking here?
Well, Bowling Green has kind of a similar issue to we talked about Start a little while ago. They're just not very big. I mean, they don't have anybody over 6'3", and they have a difficult time against teams that are bigger. Like they struggled with Northview the other week. They got out-rebounded in that game by 21. And if you're getting out-rebounded by that much, you're going to have a heck of a time.
Can't score.
Grinding out a win. And it's not even that they're small in the post, which they are. A team like Northview that has big guards, and those guards can rebound, and those guards can score over smaller, maybe less fleet of foot players, so to speak. That could be an issue for them. And Napoleon is a big team. You've got the 2 smallest schools in the Cardinal division, but they are physically big. Caden Cruz is a problem. He is a really tough matchup for anybody. He's 6'6", he's long, and he can shoot over people. That's the thing that Bowling Green's going to have to figure out.
All right. Well, we're going to find out how that one plays out. You can catch that game again Friday, 7:15 p.m. live on the BCSN app. Make sure you tune in. All right. Well, we got our big one coming up this week, and it's going to be, it's a lot. Talking about Start St. Francis, we've already discussed so far on the show. Let's move into our Game of the Week preview. All right, welcome into our Game of the Week preview, brought to you by Dunn Chevy in Oregon. Here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. This week, coming up Friday night, 7:30 p.m. live on BCSN, we'll have the championship game of the Defiance Holiday Tournament. Now, this is how this is going to work. It's going to be Thursday and Friday. We got 4 teams involved: Defiance and Anthony Wayne, Start, and St. Francis. All 4 of these teams are going to be battling it out to see who can come away with the title at the end of it, 7:30 p.m. on Friday, live on BCSN. I mean, this is going to be a bit of a gauntlet here. We got good teams, like we mentioned, Start, St. Francis, Anthony Wayne, struggling a little bit so far at the beginning portion of the season. Defiance in there. Mason, what do we got here?
Well, that Defiance Anthony Wayne game is interesting because both teams are trying to get it going. Defiance, another team that has been okay to start the season. They're not very big. Again, I feel like I keep repeating myself. We're seeing, I don't know what it is that, like, all the size is concentrated in a few places and it's not spread around like at all. St. Francis has the Hortons, who are 6'8" and 6'11".
Yes.
The Anthony Wayne girls, the Benders are tall, and the Pikes are volleyball players as well. So there's a lot of size at some concentrated areas, and then a lot of teams that don't have anybody who's over like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", and Defiance fits that mold. We mentioned the Anthony Wayne struggles to start the year. They have some depth, but they're getting used to varsity basketball, and nobody's in the same role that they were in from a season ago. That start St. Francis game is interesting to me because that could be a race to 35 points. I mean, those are two very tough defensive teams who are happy to dictate a kind of slow pace. I mean, we just saw St. Francis do just that against Central Catholic.
Yes.
Central Catholic wants to play a game in the 60s. They're happy to play a game that they win 43-41. And they'll have a significant size advantage there. I would guess, I would project an Anthony Wayne win in that first game because they desperately need one, as does Defiance. I'm thinking probably an Anthony Wayne St. Francis championship game, which I think could be really interesting. Two kind of different teams. Anthony Wayne likes to shoot the three. Griff Pike is a really good player.
Yeah.
If St. Francis can find a way to shut him down, if you put Raheem Brown on him or you put maybe Vince Ferguson on him, who is another guy that can be an X factor for that team, that is another 3-and-D guy, an inside-out threat. It's going to be really interesting. And I tell you, what I'm most excited about is just to see the gym out in Defiance, because I've been hearing about it for the last couple of years. It looks like a small college venue.
Yeah,
It is.
They got a beautiful facility.
It is super nice. It's. I think locally you could compare it maybe to Rossford and their new field house. Yeah. Just from the pictures I've seen. So I'm really excited to make the trip out there. We're always treated well when we go to Defiance. We cover baseball out there every year during the tournament. I can't wait to see the gym. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and looking at the gym, I can't wait to see the product on the court. I'm really just locked into this start versus St. Francis game. I think this will be like the premier game of this this tournament, where these two teams could actually end up being the top teams in their in this tournament here, but more so in that league. I really like what St. Francis got going on. I like the projection that Coach K has taken these guys from last year, having them take a step up into this year. Now the confidence is all the way there. For start, I'm still trying to figure them out. I'm still trying to figure out what start's going to be in the next 2 or 3 weeks, So this is a good a test for this team if they can go out here and win this tournament. And you said it for Defiance and Anthony Wayne. If you're Defiance, you definitely want to protect your home court. You want to come out here. You're going to have a packed house, BCSN in there. You're going to see the BCSN trucks outside. Everybody's going to be ready to get going. So Anthony Wayne, you talked about it, and Mason, and I agree 1,000% with you. I think this is their game to lose. They got to come out here and just make sure they take care of the ball. Griff Pike, he is special, and they've been waiting to get this thing going. So this is all about him and finding a way to be a leader on this basketball team. But I do agree we should probably see Anthony Wayne versus St. Francis in this championship round, and I think that's going to be a very fun game to watch.
All right. I like it.
Can I just jump on my soapbox real quick?
Yeah, real fast.
Because I know we're low on time here. The one thing that I don't like about the new NLL is the fact that it's robbed us of some holiday tournaments. Because all these teams are in the same league now, and you can't play a holiday tournament game against somebody in your own conference. So we've lost the tournament at Clay, which was big and invited freshman teams and JV teams. And it was like a whole few days of games, and it was great. Southview had a really good tournament for a few years that was always a lot of fun. Defiance now is kind of like the only one. All the other teams are having to go out of state, out of area to play in stuff like this. So I'm glad the Defiance one's going on, but I miss those other ones.
Well, guess what? We're going to probably have a BCSN tournament next year. Watch out for it.
Perfect.
Love it. Okay. All right.
Get it going. We'll do our own tournament.
20th year extravaganza.
How
about it, Mace? I like it.
All right. Well, that's it for our Game of the Week preview. We got more games coming up this Friday, so let's quickly run through those. Justin isn't here this week, so I guess I'll break it down for you guys. We got our 6 p.m. game. That's going to be, I'm assuming, who is going to be 3rd and 4th place in that tournament there.
Consolation game.
Yep. And then we got our championship game, 7:30 p.m., live on BCSN. Finley at Whitmer, 7:15. St. John's at Rogers at 7. Bowling Green at Napoleon, 7:15. Springfield at Fremont Ross, 7:15. Mommy at Lake, 7:15. Then we got hockey, Anthony Wayne and St. John's at the Huntington Center at 6 p.m. And then in our Erie market, we've got the boys, Bellevue at Perkins, and the girls' side, Huron at Margaretta. You can catch all of those games on the BCSN app. All right. Well,
some news, right?
Yeah, as we close this out, unfortunately, I got to let all of you guys out there listening and watching, I got to let you know, this is my last episode here on the podcast. I am moving on. I've got to, life happens and takes you to new places. You're going to make me cry over here. I'll tell you what, when I first started here a couple years ago, this was something I was so excited about doing. And this is 100%, my baby and the thing that I look forward to the most each and every week. So thank you, Mike Robb, for being here with us each and every week, starting last year with football and here this year. And Mason, thank you for stepping in today. And you'll see more of Mason here very soon on the podcast as well.
My pleasure. I'm glad I was here for your last one.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for being there and supporting the podcast. Make sure you tune in January 10th for our next episode.
Hey, I just want to say thank this guy right here, man. He's been through a lot, and he is a tough soldier, trooper.
Absolutely.
I love you, man.
I appreciate it. I love you too, man. All right.
Absolutely.
We'll see you guys next time.